Hello and thank you for joining us on ERi-TV. Today is Thursday, Today's Thursday, 4th of April 2024. Here are stories making headlines today. Russian delegation visits northern and southern Red Sea region. Assessment meeting on desert locust control efforts. UK's Prime Minister faces growing pressure to stop arms sales to Israel. Tropical forest loss decrease in 2023, but global threats remain. A senior delegation from the Russian Federation, led by Vice Admiral Vladimir Kasatonov, accompanied by General Philippos Wolde-Yohannes, Chief of Staff of the Eritrean Defense Force, along with other high-ranking military commanders, embarked on a turn of development and infrastructure sites in the northern and southern Red Sea region on 3rd of April. During their visit, the delegation explored key facilities, including the Asab International Airport and its adjacent port, the Halab boat manufacturing and maintenance plant, the Fish Corporation and ice production in Asab, Saqir, various fish processing plants, and wind energy facilities in Bar Asole, among other infrastructures, as well as Nahora Island. The two sites also explored opportunities for cooperating, especially in the development of fisheries infrastructure in Edi, Tiao, and other sites. Throughout the tour, coordinators at each site provided detailed briefings on the delegation, offering insights into ongoing and planned projects. The tour was attended by Major General Takhlai Habtasillase, Commander of the Eritrean Air Force, Major General Ramadan Osman Aulai, Commander of the Eritrean Defense Force Training Center, Brigadier General Abraham Andom, Commander of the Eastern Command, Colonel Mel'aka Takhla Mariam, Chief of Staff of the Eritrean Naval Force, and Ambassador Zameda Takhla, Commissioner of the Culture and Sports. This visit by the senior Russian naval delegation is part of the series of regular consultative forums aimed at the strengthening ties and fostering collaboration between relevant entities of the two nations. The Ministry of Agriculture hosted an assessment meeting on 2nd of April in Massawa, focusing on the endeavor made to manage the desert locust infestation in the northern and southern Red Sea region during 2023. The meeting saw the participation of Mr. Arafina Berha, the Minister of Agriculture, regional governors, heads of regional assemblies, various officials, agricultural experts, and representatives of farmers. Mr. Kubram Anda Mikael, Managing Director in the Northern Red Sea region, emphasized in his opening remarks the significance of the control efforts, highlighting their importance not only to Eritrea but also for neighboring nations. Mr. Tasfit Garazgeher, Director General of Agriculture and Land in the region, detailed the activities undertaken, the challenges faced, and the future plans for mitigating the locust threat in the report. He noted that the locust invasion in 2023-2024 was unprecedented in scale and scope, with over 1,400 personnel, 14 spraying units, and 4 vehicles mobilized for the control operations. Mr. Tasfit praised the collaborative effort involving the Ministry of Agriculture, the General Public, Defense Force, and local administrations, which effectively managed the locust threat before it could cause significant harm to agriculture and pastoral lands. Ambassador Mohammed Said Mante, Governor of the Southern Red Sea region, warned of the potential for increased locust activity following the onset of rains in various parts of the region, urging for vigilant monitoring and thorough preparedness. Minister Arafina Berha highlighted the successful coordinated efforts among agricultural specialists, the community, local administration, and defense force in addressing the locust crisis. He further urged for the strengthening collective approach, including the provision of training, development of alternative pesticides, and the execution of regular field inspections to prevent future invasions. Members of the EPLF Hague Division Paltalk rooms, along with other nationals from the Eritrean diaspora, have generously donated material support valued at over 388,000 NAFA to the National Association of Eritrean War Disabled Veterans. During the donation ceremony held on 2nd of April, Mr. Mohammed Nur Idris, the head of the organization and information for the association, praised the diaspora community's efforts in aiding war-disabled veterans. He encouraged others to emulate this commendable gesture. The beneficiaries of the support expressed their gratitude, emphasizing that the responsibility of supporting war-disabled veterans should not rest solely on the government. They urged all Eritrean nationals to embrace their citizenship duties by contributing to the well-being of those who have sacrificed it for their country. We are live on ERi-TV. Stay tuned for international news. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak is facing growing political pressure to stop selling weapons to Israel after 7 aid workers, including 3 British nationals, were killed by an Israeli air attack on Gaza. 3 opposition parties and some MPs in the governing Conservative Party said yesterday the British government should consider suspending arms sales. The Liberal Democrats called for arms export to Israel to be suspended, while the Scottish National Party also backed that move and said Parliament should be recalled from the Easter break to discuss the crisis. The main opposition Labour Party, which polls suggest would form the next government after election expected later this year, said the government should suspend arms sales if lawyers found that Israel had broken international law. David Lammy, Labour's foreign policy chief, told reporters that it's important now that advice is published so that they can all be clear that if there has been a breach in international humanitarian law, and he has very serious concern that arms sales are suspended. Meanwhile, 3 former Supreme Court justices joined more than 600 lawyers, legal academics, and retired senior judges in calling for the government to halt arms sales to Israel, saying it could make Britain complicit in genocide in Gaza. Tropical forest loss declined last year, but other indicators show that the world's woodlands remain under tremendous pressure, according to an analysis released today by Global Forest Watch Monitoring Project. Destruction of forests helps drive global climate change because trees absorb climate warming carbon dioxide and store it as carbon in their woods. That greenhouse gas is released when the wood rots or burns. This destruction also imperils biodiversity because of how many plants and animal species call forest home. The loss of primary forest, those untouched by people and sometimes known as old-growth forests in the tropic, declined 9% last year compared to 2022. But Global Forest Watch researchers said the destruction remains stubbornly high. The world last year lost about 37,000 square kilometers of tropical primary forest, an area nearly as big as Switzerland and larger than the U.S. state of Maryland. Global Forest Watch is the project of Washington-based on non-profit research organization World Resource Institute using satellite imagery. Most of the data is compiled by University of Maryland researchers. Before we go, we have a quick recap of top stars. Russian delegation visits northern and southern Red Sea region. Assessment meeting on desert locust control efforts. UK Prime Minister faces growing pressure to stop arms sales to Israel. Tropical forest loss decreases in 2023, but global threats remain. And that wraps up our news broadcast for this evening. Thank you for being with us.